Jeff and Lexie have a really great story about their investing journey. They have a lot of grit. They have a lot of real life situations. There's nothing overly fake or fancy here. It's just real life, how they made it happen, which I absolutely love for them to share. And for all of you who invest with your spouse, they're going to share a lot of wisdom about that and lessons learned along the way. So be sure to buckle up and pay attention as we go through. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Freedom Blueprint. I am Adrienne Green, and today I'm really excited to have with me Jeff and Lexie Bodenmuller. Thank you guys for joining me.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having us.
So excited to be here.
I guess I'll start. So
Yeah.
I'm the one who first started investing in real estate. I was 17 when my dad gave me Rich Dad Poor Dad. So I started saving my money, and one night he's in the kitchen. My mom was really upset because he went out of town to where he was buying rentals, and to circumvent the 4 loan limit, he decided to close 11 properties in one weekend. So that was, he's the reason why you have to fill in, that disclose if you have any other loans. But so my mom was really upset. And I'm sitting at the kitchen counter at 18. I said, "Oh, can I buy one of them?" And so he ended up, being a co-signer on one of them for me. So I purchased my first little long-term rental property at 18. And then fast forward, it took until 2021-ish for Jeff to be on board.
Give me some credit there. I was
supportive.
Yeah. So we obviously met, and then when we were dating, she told me on our first date, she goes, "Yeah, like I have a rental property," and I'm like, "What is it?" Like I didn't really even know what that meant. I'm like still like trying to figure out my life. I was going through a divorce, but I'm like, wow, this chick's got it figured out. Obviously, she's 20 years old and already like doing these things, and I'm like trying to find my life at this point still. So yeah, so that's kind of like I was intrigued at that point. And then for me, like I learned a lot with her dad because I lived out on their ranch raising my daughter and stuff like that. And then I would go with him to help him work on rentals and stuff where he was at. And I just started, kind of picking it up then. I'm like, wow, this is pretty crazy. This was like, before the times where it got wild, right? Like where everybody was doing it. There was bigger pockets and all these different things. It wasn't really out. So he was learning as he was going, and I was learning, watching him learn. So that what made it really intriguing to me. But I still had this vision for me of going, I was a CHP officer. So I'm like, I just want to be a cop. That's what I'm doing in life. That's where the security is and all that. So I did that. But while I was doing that, I would, I guess we'll say, bring home the bacon, and then she would
allow me to reinvest the bacon.
Yeah. He would go out and buy like rental properties. And then on my days off, I would help her and we would work on them. So we started with live and flip.
And the live and flip. The first one, it allowed us to buy the next live and flip. We rolled that over, and then we're also able to purchase 2 more little long terms. When we got to the point where Jeff was unexpectedly put on, what would you say, like a medical leave, and we were getting no income, we were living off the cash flow from those. It was about $1,500 in cash flow every month that we were living on after we kind of went through our savings. And so that was when Jeff really saw how valuable that it could be, because it kept us afloat.
And that's kind of where our struggles, we've had a lot of struggles before we even met, physical struggles, all kinds of stuff. But together, like that's where a lot of our struggles started happening too. And that's where like we really leaned on each other to get through those times. And so it was like interesting. I saw the power of real estate, right? And I think even my wife did too. Like, wow, this is actually legitimate. Like this is covering us while I'm not getting any income from the state for a year and a half. We're fighting the state on, at this point, a disability with the state. So that was a real tough point in our lives. But then I was struggling with post-traumatic stress, and I was home full time at that point. This is during COVID, by the way. Like COVID, literally the day I reported to work on that, like the next week, COVID hit. So all the treatment that I was supposed to go get went away. At the same time, she was going through, we were trying to figure out what was going on with her, but we kind of had an idea it was rheumatoid arthritis. So she was going to the doctors and getting treatment on that. Well, COVID hit, everything stopped for both of us. So she's struggling at home. She couldn't even get out to walk the dogs. We were in the middle of a pretty large, like a little over 3,000 square foot house flip, like a live-in flip in California on the Sacramento River. Is a beautiful area. So just all these things were just hitting us at once. And that's where we just really leaned on each other to just work through that, but also seeing the power of real estate. Going like, wow, just every single month. I mean, we literally just barely made it, right? It's like God just enough just to get you through. And that was what honestly was able to keep us in the fight to go against the state to where they finally like said, okay, we'll settle with you.
Yeah, so I guess we should also let listeners know we did not plan on working with each other all the time. This was kind of life threw us a curveball.
Yeah.
So Jeff was working, he was a highway patrol officer. He was working out of town for 5 years. He would go and work 4 or 5 days and then come home on the weekends. So we went from him being gone for extended periods of time to then for about 5 months, he was closer to home, but still commuting an hour and a half. And then he was home all the time.
Yeah, not just home all the time too. It was home all the time, like
with
crazy. Like I was struggling, couldn't sleep. And then like I said, we're in the middle of doing this rehab, and at this point we've already done one live-in flip. So this is our second big one, and we took on a project. Our daughters at the time our oldest was like 15 or so. And our youngest was like 11, somewhere around there. And they helped us with everything. They helped us roof the house, put windows in, siding, a new deck, all the interior work, electrical, everything. But when I came home, I was like, I couldn't do anything. I remember I was out there trying to build the deck, and I was cutting some things, and I couldn't even measure. My brain was just...
No more cutting the redwood wrong, okay?
Like, yeah, it costs a lot.
Like, this is getting expensive to have you just cutting stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, patient with each other. That's probably the single biggest tip.
Yeah.
That is, being patient.
Being patient, working with each other. Yeah. But we learned that we leaned a lot against each other, but we also realized more at that time too, our strengths, like what I was good at, what she was good at, and stuff like that. So after, I guess we'll go on to the next set of this, but after we got a settlement from the state, we no longer had to live there. And California it's just honestly a tough state. It's a good state in some ways for some real estate and stuff like that. But for business, it's tough. They have a lot of regulations and stuff like that. So
for landlords, it's tough.
Yes. And for landlords, especially during COVID, we had a lot of, stuff going on there with that. We were like, okay, well, let's get out of here. So we sold the house. We were in the middle of it. We sold it. And during the sale of that home, we bought our first Airbnb, and it was in Florida. And that turned out to be another mess, but it was all good. Like we came out here, we closed on a property. It was a 2-unit property in Florida, and Southwest Florida, Sarasota County. So we buy the house, we come down here with our youngest daughter at the time, and we do like a complete, bring Airbnb it, right? So we're bringing all the furniture in. I put up fences. We made it all really nice. They went home a little early. I flew home a week later, and on the day I was boarding the plane to fly home, my buddy texted me, and he's like, hey, there's a hurricane coming out that way. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? And so anyway, I call my other buddy who's a real Floridian. So this is a rarity. I'm sure people have heard of a Florida man or all this stuff. Well, it's actually
rare.
It's hard to find a real Floridian in Florida. So this guy he's born in this county. So I text him. I'm like, hey, is this going to happen? And he goes, oh no, like, listen, man, he's like, there's an Indian burial ground out here. Like the hurricanes always come, and the wind, it always moves it or something. I'm like, okay. Land in Vegas, and it's on the news at every stinking TV in the airport, right? And I'm like, And then you start seeing, what's his name? The guy from the Weather Channel. That's Jim Cantori. If you see Jim Cantori in your area, you should not be there. So he's literally he's like in my backyard. And I'm like, this is not good. And so, so we watched on TV this whole area get destroyed right after we get finished. No. That was not.
It was pretty intense. So we just, had to redo some things. Thankfully, like we had trees on the house. Almost every tree on the lot was either broken or knocked over, and we're like, okay, we got to go back and fix this again. Thankfully, it was a miracle. The trees that fell, they didn't go through the house, so everything was still dry and no
windows
damage, no windows broken. Yeah, it was a miracle. So we had a lot of cleanup and like fence and siding and that type of thing, but made it through that one.
Yeah, and then that was when we sold our house in California. did really well off of that. And then just lived in our trailer. We had a toy hauler trailer. So I packed our other trailer full of all the just the stuff we kept. And it's like nowadays it's like when you move, especially if you're going long distance, it's you just sell everything you have. Unless it's, you know,
Get rid of
heirloom stuff. It just get rid of it because it's all replaceable anyway. So we got rid of just about everything except heirloom stuff, stuffed it all in our trailer. And then I had some cars and stuff that we had to ship down here. And then we just took our toy hauler and just drove across the country with our daughter, which was a cool, like you get to do, Adrienne, is like experiences with your family, but just traveling the US was really fun. You know, had a great time together, and then ended up in Florida, lived in that Airbnb while we fixed it again, and then acquired our next property.
Where we were going to live. We went and stayed in the Airbnb while we fixed it. Thankfully, we could stay in it. We didn't know if we were going to have to live in the trailer while we, you know, did repairs. But thankfully, we could stay in the house, and so that all worked out. And then we ended up staying in the area and buying our house. So that's how we ended up here.
Yeah, it was a unique ride, but I would say during that whole time, from the point of like especially with my work stuff going on, I feel like that's when like we really started to, and the good thing was we really bonded more together. And I feel like that's what not only saved our marriage, because here's the thing, and we know this if we're married people out there, like there's struggles are either going to break you or build you, right? And it's just I feel like that's reality with most. And nowadays, especially, a lot of people seem to just kind of give up, and they're like they start to place blame on the other person. Well, they weren't there for me, or they didn't help me with this, or blah blah blah. And then next thing you know, they're in a divorce. And we realized through that we leaned on each other, and we really strengthened our relationship together. And then that's what brings us into, I guess, doing not just life together, but now business together.
So Jeff didn't go back to work. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, yeah. We were like, well, why go back to work? You know, I can
now he loves real estate.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm gonna go all in real estate. And that was a time for me too to realize, like, okay, I knew she was right, but I'm like, she's legitimately right. I was there for 10 years, and that's like all I knew was that's my brotherhood. That's my family, right? And during my struggles with post-traumatic stress, I knew that if I was to report this to the state, I would be a liability to them. And the reason I say that is because you just are, right? Like the mental struggles and the things you have, they're kind of like, and as soon as I did report, they're like, okay, look, we got to take your badge and gun and all that stuff because they don't want you to go crazy, right? And they can't have you working. So that was my moment of, and again, during that time too, I departed from my real family, my wife, my daughters, everything. I was so checked out. Plus I worked, I was gone 5 days a week, 5-hour drive just to get to where I worked, and then lived down there. So I didn't get to see my kids grow up for a good part of their lives as much as I wanted to. But then also when I was there, I wasn't really present in my head, if that makes sense. Like I would see my daughter playing softball and I just couldn't engage. You know, I was excited for her, but I couldn't show emotion because I was so drained from emotion. It was tough for me to make that move to tell the department, like, hey, look, this is what's going on with me, because I didn't want them to let me go because I felt like that was my family. But when I did it, and through my wife's help, obviously, that was my moment of realization of going, that's not my family. My family is here, and I've left them behind. I left my daughters, I left my wife, and for her to, like, in a lot of ways, take me back in and love me, even during that time, was really, really tough. That's what just got me back on track. Even though after I left, it took, I would say, probably a good 6 months or more, maybe almost a year of just like, you just feel like, well, what am I going to do now? You know, like I'm the one that was supposed to be the provider, the protector of the family, and now I'm not. Like, where's my job now? What do I do? And then I just started getting, like, got down here. We started really getting into real estate. And I'm like, it just took that moment of me going, like, I have purpose again. I felt like I didn't. I just felt like, well, I'm no good to the highway patrol. I'm no good to my family. I'm not a good father. I'm a horrible husband, not a good leader. And then it just, wait, real estate. And I started getting into it. I'm like, oh, this is fun, right? And I started doing deals. And then my wife comes on board, kind of in some ways, because I don't know if she really wanted to come on board with me at first, because she knows me. I'm like a wild animal, you know, like you turn me loose on something and I'm like, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. And kind of that's what's happening now. But she's done so good at supporting me and just getting behind me and like also keeping me focused.
Hiring a virtual assistant shouldn't be a guessing game. If you're ready to offload time-consuming tasks and scale your real estate investing business, my Real Estate VA Launchpad course gives you the exact roadmap to find, train, and manage high-performing VAs. Learn how to delegate like a pro and take back your time. Enroll now at adriennegreen.com/courses, and you'll find that link in the show notes below.
That's
Right.
probably the hardest thing too when you have, real estate investors like, oh, this is a new thing, like, oh, co-living. Oh, that'll cash flow. Let's do that now. And it's hard to stay focused. So I think when there's, two of you, you go, okay, honey, like, remember, we're
Right.
working on this right now. But yeah, it was a learning experience, definitely. But, in the end, you look back and you're like, oh man, that was a really hard time, but I'm so thankful now where we're at. And, if it wouldn't have been for the hard times, then we never would be at this point, where we are now.
Yes. So for those of you listening who are going through the hard time or the valley at the moment, I know how tough that is. But here, Jeff and Lexie are here to tell you it's worth it. And there's good stuff at the other side. Now, I'm curious, what does your guys' investing business look like now?
Yeah. So we're into quite a few different things.
Yeah, we started with the long term, obviously, and then we planned on doing long term in Florida until we saw, the short term numbers. We were like, okay, we have to do that. It was a little shiny object syndrome too. Then we got into that.
We just have a lot of different things, right? So yeah, we have long-term rentals, California, and then we have some out here now in Florida. We just finished one that we did a lot ourselves, which we need to stop. We're going to stop doing that. The hammer and roller back there, yeah, that is us, and that's pretty much been our lives, is doing it ourselves. But we realize in order to grow and also be like financially free, right? Like you're saying with that blueprint of like you want to get to that financial blueprint in life, like the way to do that is to like start having others help you do it. But yeah, so long-term rentals, short-term rentals in Florida. We also have like we call it the beach bus. So this is a cool one. My wife, so we had that I was talking about earlier. We had that
Our mobile home.
yeah, our mobile home, our trailer that we lived in for a while. I loved it as my toy hauler, all this stuff. Well, she was like, we need to sell that. My thought was, so we bought this property we're at now, and it's on like what is an acre?
Like an acre and a half.
Acre and a half or whatever. And you can build a second unit on it.
Yeah,
I have an
that's
excavator and I cut out a big section of property, like all these palmettos, and we parked the trailer in there. And we were going to Airbnb that, but it didn't have the cool factor. So my wife says,
The big trailer did not have the cool
yeah.
factor at all.
So she says, well, we should sell it. And I'm like, I don't want to sell it.
He was sad to let it go, but
So she, in the meantime, is already, this is a woman thing, I feel like.
Researching and preparing.
So she's already on it. She's like, yeah, we'll sell it. So I sell it. And then right away, she's like, look what I found on Facebook. I found a bus and it's partially finished. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to get involved in this. But then I was like, wait, this would be pretty cool. So we bought this bus.
Yeah.
It's like what is it, like a
Yeah, long story short, it's doing well now. It's basically like, an RV, but it's a bus. So
it's cool because we get to take it too. So when we go on trips as a family, we take the bus and go travel around. And so we take it off Airbnb, but it's like a liability, but it's really an asset. So that's been super fun to do that. And then we have a couple other Airbnbs. Last year, we just got into self-storage. We have 3 different properties, 2 in Georgia and 1 in North Carolina. So that's a new business that we just started. So
we're always in live-in flips. That seems to be our other. We have to live in a house that has split equity.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, that's where.
That's kind of
That's where we're
at today.
There's definitely some joy and some pride in doing that work yourselves and seeing the difference. So I could see that. And it's amazing how far you guys have come. I am curious, one other thing, as we wrap up here, you still have your properties in California. That was something I was wondering. How are you guys managing them long distance? Are you guys self-managing or using a property manager? What wisdom would you give? We've got listeners who are long distance investors. Love your thoughts on that.
Yeah, we're self-managing. We would not be if we didn't have amazing tenants. So I think that's a lot of it. But yeah, we had them in place and we were there when they moved in. So that was easier than, if we, had a turnover right now. But I think, and it kind of ties into like the self-storage, is anything at a distance, if you have a good contact there, that's key.
Yeah.
It's similar to like, like the Airbnbs with your cleaner. As long as you have a good, reliable person in those places, that seems to be key.
Yeah, and also like I think a big part of it that you're really good at too is just vetting your tenants, right? And that like they do change, right? Like you'll vet them and you're like, oh, they're great, and then like a year later they're not so great. That does happen, but I think we do a good job of vetting our tenants, and then we also not just with our tenants but our employees and stuff like that too, with self-storage and other things, is we try to go at it with like servant like leadership, right? We're trying to like serve them as much as we can because they're honestly like that's why everything works. So it's the same with our tenants. Give them a Christmas card, give them $200 off their rent, like whatever it is, like little things to show them that we appreciate them and that they're human. You know what I mean? Like sometimes we just kind of think of people as like this monetary, like, oh yeah, they got a place to stay. But if I think like from us just being like personable to our tenants and to our employees and stuff, it's really helped just have good people.
Right. Yes. I think that's a very good point. Yes. Understanding everybody's humanity and treating them as such. Well, Jeff and Lexie, we've gone through a lot and heard a lot of your stories, which I really appreciate you guys opening up and sharing. We are going to wrap up with our closing quickfire questions here. So first, what is your go-to tool for managing operations?
Can I say this most recent one? This is old school, but this is Jeff's idea, actually. We had so much going on and we're getting overwhelmed because we were in the middle of a flip project, have self-storage, getting ready to rent out properties in the Airbnb. So Jeff goes, we need whiteboards and we will write down everything we need to do because it clears your brain and it shows you visually, this is everything we have to do. And when you do that, it seems less overwhelming because then, your brain is just not overwhelmed thinking you have 1,000 things to do when you put them on the board and, maybe it's 30. So that's been the recently.
Yeah, I think for me, I would say I like that too, not just because it was my idea. I don't like to take credit for my idea. And thank you. That was very nice of you. That is a good one. I'm going to give her credit, and this is for the book we're writing, is she did like poster board or whatever, and we're doing the brainstorm, and we posted up on the wall. She got sticky notes, and we kind of put all of our stuff, chapters, and we're just like throwing those things up there, and it's really, really fun to do that. It's almost like a game because you're like, ooh, here's one for this, and we stick them up there. So just those little things are huge. Like software, we love Hospitable. Like we use Hospitable for the Airbnbs, like everything you can use it for. That's a really, really good one.
Yeah.
You guys are totally speaking my language. I will tell you, a little while back, I told my husband, there's not many things we miss with our travels. I miss having a whiteboard. As a former high school teacher, I even had whiteboards in like my office as an agent. I had a whiteboard at home, like a portable whiteboard on a stand. And yes, there are times when I'm like, oh, if I could just write it all out on a whiteboard. So
yes.
I
feel like maybe that is because nowadays we don't even have like notepads. It's like put notes in your phone.
Yeah.
And nothing really ever like leaves our brain. It's just so that's probably why.
Yeah,
both visually writing it out.
I think that's like generational too, maybe, right? Like I think nowadays a lot of the younger kids and stuff, they can put things on their phone and that is like their whiteboard. But for like us, I feel like writing it down on something, it just brings you back to like, yeah, like there it is. I wrote it down. So see it.
Love it. And then next, what is one piece of advice you'd give to your younger self when you were starting out?
I always tell my daughter this right now because she's not like a risk taker all the time, and I'm like, dude, you just need to go do it. And that's my advice to myself too. And even though I was that way, I still am. Just go after it. Get started now. Go, go, go. Don't wait. Just don't wait. Get after it.
Yeah, that's true. I usually think the number one thing is tell myself, don't be concerned with what other people think, because then it kind of goes hand in hand with doing that when you're younger. If you could not feel that pressure of what's everybody else doing or what should I do, that would be what I would tell myself. Just don't care what other people think. Go do it.
Yeah, and a lot of people need to hear that. And then what is a book that has been transformational in your investing journey?
Okay, so obviously before, and I did read it, Who Not How, or not Who Not How. Who Not How is the one I want. I love that book. That's my new one. But it was Rich Dad, Poor Dad was my original, like, got me thinking, like, have money work for you kind of concept, right? Instead of just going out and working for money all the time. So that was a concept of that one. But Who Not How currently is my book because, like I said, I'm trying to trade in that hammer back there and that roller to really focus more on
That's the baton.
exactly who can do this, not how can I go do it.
Absolutely. Obviously, you know, the same with Rich Dad Poor Dad, but I think too, probably the Miracle Morning, you know, I think would be the most helpful for the most people. Just once you get the right start to your day, it sets the tone for the rest of it. So I think that would be, you know, one of the top for me.
Right. I love all of those. Jeff and Lexie, if people would like to reach out and connect with you further, where is the best place for them to do that?
Okay, so Instagram is Jeff and Lexie, Lexie, not Lexi. That's
the easiest one.
That's the easiest one. And then Bodenmuller Properties right behind us. And it's always like, people are like, well, that's a long last name. It is. But if you break it down, Boden and Mueller, it's pretty easy, I feel like. So it's bodenmullerproperties.com is where you can find us. And like Instagram especially, we love to hear from people on there. But also like everything we post on there is super raw. We don't sugarcoat anything.
It's not glammed up at all.
No.
It's very,
Yeah.
this is what's happening.
Look at the crap we're into now. Like we'll tell you the story. We feel like that's an important part, right? And like a lot of this is we always show the glitz and glam, but I want people to see like for real, like what really happened, because we all know like it's not easy. You know, you gotta have thick skin to do this.
But it's worth it in the end.
100%.
I love that. And we'll have that in the show notes, everybody. So it's easy for you to grab. And now, guys, real quick as we wrap up, I know you guys are working on a book. Do you want to tell people a little bit about that in case it's something relevant for them?
Yeah. So basically our idea behind the book, it's also going to be very real and not, you know, oh, we're a perfect little marriage. It's basically, you know, the tips that we've learned after being together for 20 years that will help people that want to work together as spouses, like so that hopefully they can fast track, you know, to making it easier for them and not working through all these struggles that we have. And so, yeah, we're working on that now. Yeah, and it's going to be called Spouse, like an acronym.
Okay.
So, yeah, it'll be hopefully full of helpful tips.
Yeah, and it's also a workbook. It's supposed to be done with your spouse. So you work on it together.
Open up lines of communication.
Yep, to open up lines of communication and all that stuff. But it's also like, with that said, like we were talking about being raw, like we're still learning stuff. And like that's why as we do this and even do podcast stuff, we're learning a lot about each other, but just interviewing other spouses and talking to other spouses, like there's so much great information out there working together. So we're just trying to add as much of that into this book as possible to give people hope in that situation. Either maybe they're struggling in divorce, or maybe they're successful in marriage, but they're looking at business and how can they pull that spouse in to help them in business. And so that's what we're trying to teach them. And we have like sections where there's workbooks and things that they can work through too, which really, really cool. We have the spouse wheel. That's a good one. She came up with that and I absolutely love it. So good stuff.
That sounds fabulous. And so, guys, we'll have the Instagram below, Jeff and Lexie, so you can go check out and keep posted on their book. And that is a wrap on today's episode of The Freedom Blueprint. If you found this helpful, please make sure to like and subscribe wherever you are listening, and maybe even shoot it over to another real estate investor who could benefit from hearing Jeff and Lexie's story. Then be sure to join me next week on another episode of The Freedom Blueprint.